concerns, and my hope is that you use this as an opportunity to get more engaged and open yourself up to the possibility that there are people who choose public service because they want to serve and they want to hear from you. I think when we choose to think that people in public service aren't serving us, that's when the conversation ends. I'm curious, how many city council meetings have you attended, or city council hearings have you attended, so you could be heard? I mean, we have to have that conversation. If we sit around and play the blame game, we're going to be in the same position next year and 10 years from now. So I hope that we use this as an opportunity to get more engaged with whatever level of government that you're interested in. With respect to One Baltimore, I'm excited about the fact that we took what was a tragic situation and using it to build resources in our community. The first step was to close the gap on summer employment. I'm really pleased that we were able to do that, to make sure that more young people than ever have the chance to start on their path towards deciding what they want to be in their future by having the summer job opportunities. And I know that we have more on the way. There are so many people who want to be a part of the long-term solution, and that starts with the community and being in conversation. So I again hope that we don't miss this opportunity to sit down at the table. Every challenge that we have was not created over the last 5 years or the last 20. These are issues that have been around for generations and multiple generations, and we cannot afford to demonize any part of our community that has the potential to be a part of the solution. We have to look at all of ourselves as resources and figure out a way that we can work together, and that's what One Baltimore is going to be about. So I look forward to more conversations like this. I've had youth summits on violence in our city, and I've had great participation. I look forward to having more conversations as well as we work to heal our community.
Madam Mayor, thank you so very much. It's 8:16. Right after this information break, we're going to come back, leading into the next hour and a half, continuing with the Summer of Us on air here on the Larry and Warner Show with the Coach, WOLB 1010 and Praise 106.1.
The Larry and Warner Show presents the Summer of Us.
I'll be saving on taking pictures.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Larry. JJ,
That's what I say.
JJ would like to talk to you.
Hello.
All right. I'm gonna come back on the air.
Thank you so very much. It's 8:17. Thank you so very much for continuing with our special edition here of the Larry and Morning Show, the Youth Summit on Air. The Summer of Us, the Summer of Us.
We want to continue our conversation as we are continuing to talk about the issues of politics and faith and everything. And a lot of issues are on the table, but we are going to go back to our panel. We got Pastor West, we got Abdul, as we have this conversation about politics, and especially what role does the next generation play in this process.
And remember to send us questions and comments at #SummerOfUs. #SummerOfUs.
Yeah, I want to go to Twitter right quick. Rock Mitchell said, unfortunately, each African-American generation starts over instead of carrying on to create its own strength and culture. Some of us.
Well, actually, had something to say before we went to break. My name is Alana Dixon. So I feel like right now we're trying to do the same thing that we've been doing for years. And so that is trying to force ourselves to fit into a society that we talk about does not systematically benefit us. And so when you talk about going out to vote, is that really gonna help? You know, we have leaders that are saying that, you know, they're for us and everything like that, but they're not knowledgeable about the things that go on in our communities, and they're not fully unapologetic when it comes to actually speaking on things that they know need to happen. So what I do think that we need to do, what Brother said, and actually start to organize and understand that what we need to do is get ourselves together. We need to build a community that is gonna benefit us and not really worry about what's going on outside of that, because it's not helping. So, I just think that, one, the young people have a lot to say, and we have a lot that we have seen, that isn't gonna follow habitual things that have been going on for generation after generation. So I think that, all of that needs to be taken into account. So I don't necessarily think that going out to vote per se is the solution. I really think it's only a part of the problem.
Right.
Hi, my name is Kiara Butler. I'm the cousin of Tyrone West that was brutally murdered by police. I had two topics I wanted to speak on, one being public safety and public health and mental health. I feel a big issue with what happens in the Black community with police in particular is that they go into the community a lot of the times trying to arrest people for petty drug crimes. Drugs, which is a mental health issue, needs to be treated as such. If the police weren't trying to arrest people for petty drug crimes, most of this interaction with the police would not occur. And that needs to be something that the government takes into account and tries to enact. If the police weren't policing for petty drug crimes, what would the Black community look like? And that's something that we need to really think about and have our politicians focus on. And then, the topic of, building the Black community. The Black community lacks capital. In a capitalist society, if you don't have capital, you will have nothing. Everyone throws money at the Black community, specifically through nonprofit organizations, and nothing is going to breed from throwing money at things that cannot grow. There's no seed there. There needs to be capital. There needs to be investment in young entrepreneurs. There needs to be investment in local builders, local investors, local people who would hire local people. There is no investment in the Black community to people who can actually do something with the money. Simple as that.
And that leads us to understanding what it is about the importance of voting as we kind of wrap up on this topic. But I know, Pastor West, you got a couple of other folks that are interested in speaking about this.
Hi, my name is Lidia Huerta Rodriguez, and I'm with CASA, and I'm a youth organizer, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the systematic injustices that are keeping a lot of youth in the dark, especially here in Maryland. A lot of youth are not understanding their immigration status until it's time to graduate, and they've been in this community since they were 2, and they've had established roots in the community, and the systematic injustice is keeping them in the dark, and a lot of folks are not understanding their situations and what they're going through. And I wanted to introduce Raquel Ramirez so she could talk a little about her story and how it's affecting her on a daily basis.
Hi, my name is Raquel. My parents pay taxes, and because of that, they now have their license. They're immigrants, and now they have their license. But still, being immigrants prevents them from voting. And not being able to vote means that taxes technically go nowhere, because they're not being considered like citizens. So there's no representation to them. So I'm asking for support, and I guess that everybody unites to get that justice, because as African Americans, they fought for voting rights, so we're also wanting to fight for voting rights.
All right, maybe for Roger, I think we need to be educated when it comes down to voting as well. What's your thoughts?
Right, I mean, absolutely. If we aren't educated about the process, and this is where we want to kind of shift gears into looking at the education, because education is going to be essential in order for us to have some real change in our community. And right now, if we're looking at where we are in our educational endeavors, do we think that our generation really truly want to be educated, or is it just the system that we're a part of diminishes our desire to be educated? So we're gonna ask that, do we wanna truly be educated, or is it the system has diminished our desire?
So I just want to change, you know, I want to kind of piggyback on what everyone is saying. Let's be clear, voting and having your representation at any level of government is ideal, and that's what, you know, I think the Baltimore Uprising, I think that's what was kind of perpetuated into the next level and next phase of our advocacy. We need to vote, young people. Let's be clear about that. If you don't feel like, you know, you have a representation, be that voice. Be that voice. You know, be that voice.
I think I got a brother up front that kind of disagree. I want to hear from him.
As I said before, we live, we're in a system which is not codified for us to be, have rights, so, or privileges. So we don't have the privilege to vote and for our vote to be effective. We don't have that privilege, we don't. And we've seen that generationally from our parents fought for the right to vote, and yet we still don't have any product from even when we do go to vote. And from my experience, as the mayor said, we need to sit at the table and have we been to these meetings. And I can say, and another young brother can say, yes, we have been to those meetings and our voices have not been heard, even when we project them. My experience, I've actually reached out to Helen Holton's office. I'm an urban farmer, urban gardener, and we're trying to start urban gardens in the city. I reached out for support, never got a response for an email. I also witnessed in city council meetings, the GBC, the Greater Baltimore Committee, and the Perkins Home community both go to battle for the tax credit. And I saw the community come out and speak about how they're being deprived of their rights. And I see people, business owners sitting at the city council, just listening, or appearing as they're listening, but not actually doing anything. And then we see what happened with the Perkins Home community and Harbor East and how they, you know, gave them the tax credits. So we see what's going on. That's the difference.
Excuse me, young brother, how old are you?
I'm 28.
28, you can run for office. I challenge you in the next election cycle to run for office, because I definitely hear everything that you're saying, but we, in order for us to have a seat at the table and really attack the system, we have to know how to attack the system. And voting is a proper way to attack the system, where you're having conscious people sitting at the table, where you're able to actually make a voice and make legislation to actually benefit our people. I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think that we, you know, I tell Faraji on a number of occasions, we all need to stay within our lane and have a concerted effort to move forward for people within our city and within our race. Until we start voting these people out of office that do not have, you know, our best interest at heart, we're going to continue to see these problems being perpetuated within our community.
I agree. The only thing I would, you know, counter with is, where is the money coming from to support these candidates? It comes from business owners in the Greater Baltimore community that funnel all this money into our community and out of our community, or is it coming? Or are we supporting our own candidates? Because I will support myself, I will support, you know, another candidate in the community that has that same agenda, that's, you know, trying to subvert the system for the benefit of our community. But unfortunately, for the last 30, 60 years, we've seen the greater, you know, we've seen business, you know, take precedence over people.
What I think I'm hearing is, how do we broker our vote to assure political justice and equal representation? I think that's what we're hearing.